The morning air was crisp at Joshua Tree National Park as Maya Escobar, 32, began her solo hike on the Lost Horse Mine Trail. According to park entrance records, Escobar arrived at 6:42 a.m. on November 13, 2024, signing the trailhead logbook with her intended route and expected return time of 2:09 p.m. A professional wildlife photographer with over a decade of backcountry experience, Escobar had completed this same moderate 4-mile loop 6 times previously. Weather conditions that morning were optimal: 62 degrees with visibility exceeding 20 miles, wind speed below 5 millimeters, and humidity at 28%. Escobar's vehicle, a 2022 Toyota 4Runner with California license plate 7DRH439, was properly parked in the designated area. Park surveillance cameras captured her departure from the trailhead at 6:58 a.m., carrying a day pack documented to contain 2.5 liters of water, trail mix, a first aid kit, topographic map, compass, and her Canon EOS R5 camera with 100-400 mm lens. The alarm was raised at 7:34 p.m. when Escobar failed to return to her accommodations at the Joshua Tree Inn, Room 8, where she had prepaid for 3 nights. The innkeeper, Diane Morales, contacted park authorities after finding Escobar's room undisturbed with luggage still present. Park rangers located Escobar's vehicle at the Lost Horse Mine trailhead at 8:47 p.m. Initial search operations commenced at first light on November 14th, involving 28 park personnel, 6 trained search dogs, and helicopter support from San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. According to Search Operation Report No. JT24473, teams followed standard search grid patterns covering a 5-mile radius from her last known position. The search expanded over subsequent days to include thermal imaging, drone surveillance, and volunteer search parties that eventually numbered 142 participants. Despite comprehensive coverage of 38 square miles of terrain, no significant evidence of Escobar's presence was discovered beyond the trailhead. The search was officially downgraded on December 12, 2024, after 29 consecutive days of operations. According to Park Superintendent Melissa Chen, "We exhausted every resource and search methodology available to us. The terrain was meticulously covered multiple times using various detection technologies. The investigation remained open, but active search operations were suspended pending new information." Case file Dar JT24117 was transferred to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Riverside Field Office as a missing persons investigation. Special Agent Thomas Reyes was assigned as primary investigator. FBI records indicate that between December 2024 and April 2025, agents conducted 43 interviews with Escobar's family members, friends, colleagues, and past romantic partners. Her digital footprint was thoroughly analyzed, including emails, text messages, social media accounts, financial records, and cloud storage. The investigation revealed no evidence of foul play, no indications of suicidal ideation, no financial irregularities, and no personal conflicts that might explain her disappearance. Escobar's last communication was a text message to her sister at 6:22 a.m. on November 13th. "Just arrived at the trailhead. Perfect morning for photography. Should have some amazing bird shots by this afternoon." On May 18, 2025, 6 months and 5 days after Escobar's disappearance, the case took an unprecedented turn. According to incident report Nazir JT25089, recreational hikers Jasmine and Keith Donovan were exploring an unmapped wash, approximately 3.8 miles southeast of the Lost Horse Mine Trail, when their dog, a 4-year-old German Shepherd named Max, began digging frantically at a seemingly unremarkable patch of desert soil. The report states that the animal excavated approximately 18 inches of compacted soil before the hikers observed what appeared to be human fingers protruding from the ground. GPS coordinates recorded from Keith Donovan's phone placed the location at 33-56-12.4 N 116-748.9 BW an area that had not been included in the original search grid due to its distance from established trails and the natural boundaries formed by surrounding rock formations. Park rangers Matthew Sinclair and Alicia Diaz responded to the Donovan's emergency call, arriving at the scene at 11:42 a.m. What they discovered defied medical explanation. According to their official report, the exposed fingers exhibited movement upon our arrival. Believing we had potentially encountered a recently buried victim, we immediately began careful excavation of the surrounding soil. After removing approximately 2 feet of densely packed earth, we uncovered a human face with dirt-filled nasal passages and mouth. The individual was breathing in shallow, irregular gasps. We cleared the airways while continuing excavation, eventually freeing the upper torso. The subject was determined to be female, severely dehydrated and in a state of extreme physical deterioration, but alive. Identification found in a partially decomposed backpack confirmed the individual to be Maya Escobar, reported missing 187 days prior. Emergency medical personnel arrived via helicopter at 12:26 p.m. Lead paramedic Jessica Torres documented Escobar's condition upon extraction. Patient exhibited paradoxical physiological signs. Core body temperature registered at 91.2 degrees Celsius. Pulse was detectable but irregular at 32 bpm. Blood pressure measured 65/40 mm change. Respiration was labored at 7 breaths per minute. Skin exhibited advanced desiccation consistent with extreme dehydration. Yet the patient maintained minimal but present consciousness, responding to painful stimuli and exhibiting pupillary response to light. These vital signs are inconsistent with survival after prolonged burial. Medical literature contains no documented cases of human burial survival exceeding 33 hours without access to air, water, and nutrition. Escobar was airlifted to Desert Regional Medical Center in Palm Springs, where she was admitted in critical condition to the intensive care unit under the care of Dr. Aaron Kessler. According to hospital records, Escobar had lost approximately 42% of her body mass, exhibited severe muscle atrophy, multiple pressure ulcers, and advanced tissue deterioration. Blood analysis revealed extreme electrolyte imbalances, metabolic acidosis, and the presence of several unidentified organic compounds that required specialized toxicology testing. CT scans and MRI imaging showed no signs of significant brain damage despite the prolonged oxygen deprivation that should have occurred during burial. Dr. Kessler's preliminary report stated, "The patient's survival defies current medical understanding. The physiological state appears to represent an unprecedented form of suspended animation or severely reduced metabolic function that permitted survival under conditions that should have been rapidly fatal." The FBI immediately established a secure perimeter around Escobar's hospital room. Special Agent Reyes resumed lead investigative duties, working in coordination with the National Park Service Investigative Services Branch. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department dispatched forensic specialists to process the burial site. Crime Scene Investigation Report, der SBC 252177, documented the excavation area in extensive detail. The soil composition consisted of standard desert sediment with a higher than typical clay content that had formed an unusually dense and compacted layer. Forensic analysis revealed that the burial site had been deliberately constructed, with the body placed in a shallow depression before being methodically covered. The positioning indicated the subject had been buried in a prone position with the head angled slightly upward, creating what the report termed a minimal air pocket that may have initially provided limited oxygen. More disturbing were the restraint marks found on Escobar's wrists and ankles, indicating she had been bound before burial. Fiber evidence collected from these marks was consistent with standard nylon rope available at most hardware stores. Soil samples from the burial site contained trace elements of an unidentified chemical compound that forensic chemist Dr. Eliza Montgomery described as sharing properties with certain plant-derived alkaloids known to induce paralysis and reduced metabolic function. The substance required further analysis, by the FBI laboratory in Quantico. Multiple boot prints were found in the hardened clay surrounding the burial site, preserved by the arid conditions and minimal precipitation in the area over the preceding months. The prints matched a size 11 Merrell Moab 2 hiking boot with a distinctive wear pattern on the left heel. As Escobar's medical condition stabilized, she remained unable to communicate verbally due to severe throat and vocal cord damage from prolonged soil inhalation. On May 23rd, 5 days after her rescue, she became responsive enough to communicate through writing. The initial interview, conducted by Special Agent Reyes in the presence of Dr. Kessler, yielded limited but critical information. According to the interview transcript, when asked about her last memories before being found, Escobar wrote, "Man on trail, park uniform, asked for help with injured hiker, followed him, felt sting on neck, woke up in hole, couldn't move. He said I was perfect specimen. Said I would serve greater purpose, poured liquid down throat, started covering me, couldn't scream, couldn't move, could only breathe. Then darkness." The investigation immediately shifted focus to park personnel who had been on duty during November 2024. Employment records indicated that no official search for an injured hiker had been initiated on November 13th. All authorized park rangers were accounted for during their shifts, with none reporting deviation from assigned patrol routes. Visitor logs were reviewed to identify individuals who had entered the park wearing similar uniforms or clothing that might be mistaken for official attire. Security camera footage from park entrances was reanalyzed, focusing on visitors whose vehicles remained in the park overnight following Escobar's disappearance. Through methodical review of this footage, investigators identified a vehicle of interest, a 2019 Ford Ranger pickup, dark green, with partially obscured California license plates, that entered the park at 5:47 a.m. on November 13th and exited at 8:23 p.m. the same day. The driver wore clothing similar to Park Service uniforms. Enhanced imaging of the partial license plate, combined with California DMV records, led investigators to Raymond Webster, 47, a former seasonal maintenance worker who had been employed at Joshua Tree National Park from 2018 to 2022, terminated for unauthorized collection of plant specimens from protected areas. Webster's employment file noted he had received formal reprimands for inappropriate interest in solo female hikers and misrepresenting himself as a park ranger to visitors. FBI agents located Webster at his residence in 29 Palms, California, on May 26, 2025. A search warrant was executed for the premises and his vehicle. According to the evidence recovery log, agents discovered a Park Service uniform shirt in Webster's closet, size 11 Merrell hiking boots with wear patterns matching those found at the burial site, a migachimer balwawas mand, and a collection of botanical specimens, including several plant species known for their paralytic and metabolic suppressing properties. In Webster's garage, Vince Timam demuestre de ras, investigators found a journal containing detailed notes on human hibernation experiments, soil composition requirements for extended preservation, and numerous references to suspended animation studies. The journal included coordinates of 7 locations within Joshua Tree National Park, one of which matched the site where Escobar was discovered. Most disturbing was a hidden room accessed through a false wall in Webster's basement. The space contained specialized laboratory equipment, chemical compounds matching those found in the soil samples, and photographic documentation of what appeared to be previous burial attempts with unidentified subjects. A refrigerated storage unit held vials of labeled compounds, including one marked Perfected Formula, Subject 4. According to the forensic analysis, this substance contained concentrated extracts from several plants, including Aconitum napellus, monkshood, Taxus baccata, uwas, and several unidentified fungal species, combined with synthetic compounds that preliminary testing suggested might affect cellular respiration and metabolic processes. Webster was taken into custody and charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, and illegal imprisonment. During initial interrogation conducted by Special Agents Reyes and Sarah Cortez, Webster maintained silence regarding Escobar specifically, but spoke at length about what he termed his research into human suspended animation. According to the interrogation transcript, Webster stated, "What you call attempted murder, I call scientific advancement. Humans have barely scratched the surface of our biological potential. Certain plants and fungi have developed compounds that can radically alter our metabolic processes. I've simply refined what nature already provides. The formula creates a state between life and death, a profound slowing of all bodily functions that allows survival under conditions previously considered fatal. My subjects aren't victims. They're pioneers in human evolution." When pressed about his selection criteria for subjects, Webster replied, "I need specimens with exceptional physical conditioning, experienced in outdoor environments, and familiar with enduring physical stress. Solo hikers in excellent health provide ideal baseline subjects for the formula's efficacy. Their bodies already understand adaptation to environmental extremes." When Agent Cortez asked directly about Escobar, Webster smiled and said only, "Subject 4 survived 187 days. That exceeds Subject 3 by 43 days. The formula is improving. Imagine the applications." Further investigation of Webster's background revealed a PhD in botanical biochemistry from UC Davis completed in 2010, followed by 3 years of postdoctoral research focusing on plant-derived compounds that affect human physiology. His academic career ended in 2014 when his research proposals on human metabolic manipulation were rejected by the University Ethics Committee. Employment records showed he subsequently worked for a pharmaceutical company until 2017, when he was terminated for conducting unauthorized experiments. His seasonal employment at Joshua Tree National Park appeared to coincide with the beginning of what investigators now termed burial experiments. As forensic teams continued processing Webster's residence and laboratory, the FBI expanded their investigation to include missing persons cases from other national parks within a 500-mile radius. According to Special Agent Reyes, "We have identified 7 potential cases that match the profile of Webster's preferred targets: solo hikers, physically fit, experienced outdoors people whose disappearances were attributed to misadventure or exposure. We are cross-referencing these cases with Webster's known whereabouts and travel history." Maya Escobar's recovery progressed slowly. After 3 weeks in intensive care, she was transferred to a rehabilitation facility specializing in trauma recovery. Dr. Kessler's final medical report noted, "The patient exhibits unprecedented physiological adaptations to prolonged burial. Her cells show modifications in mitochondrial function that allowed for drastically reduced oxygen requirements. Blood samples reveal the presence of compounds that appear to have fundamentally altered her metabolic processes, creating a hibernation-like state that permitted survival. While these changes preserved her life under impossible circumstances, they have created significant challenges for recovery. Her muscle tissue, internal organs, and neurological systems are showing patterns of damage and regeneration never before documented in medical literature." Psychological assessment conducted by Dr. Vanessa Patel documented Escobar's mental state during recovery. The patient reports continuous consciousness throughout most of her ordeal. Unlike traditional hibernation, which involves unconsciousness, she describes a state of trapped awareness in which she remained mentally active but completely paralyzed. She perceived the passage of time, experienced the sensations of being buried, and maintained awareness of her circumstances while unable to move or call for help. This combination of prolonged immobilization with full consciousness represents an unprecedented form of psychological trauma for which we have no established treatment protocols. On June 30, 2025, Webster was indicted by a federal grand jury on multiple charges including attempted murder, kidnapping, assault, unauthorized experimentation on humans, and illegal manufacture of controlled substances. As the investigation expanded, authorities discovered evidence linking him to 3 additional disappearances dating back to 2018. Ground-penetrating radar surveys were conducted at the 6 remaining coordinates found in Webster's journal. At 2 locations, soil disturbances consistent with burial sites were identified. Excavations revealed human remains in various states of decomposition. DNA analysis identified 2 of the victims as hikers reported missing in 2019 and 2021. In a statement released through her attorney, Escobar expressed both gratitude for her rescue and ongoing trauma from her experience. Each breath I take now feels like a miracle and a burden. My body is relearning how to be alive in the normal way. The doctors say the chemicals he used have permanently altered my metabolism. I can go much longer without food or water than before, and my body temperature runs several degrees cooler. But these benefits came at a cost no person should ever pay. I remained conscious through most of those 6 months, unable to move, feeling the dirt in my mouth and nose, knowing I was buried alive and helpless. Now I'm trying to reconcile the fact that I experienced my own burial for half a year and somehow survived. The night is the hardest. When I close my eyes, I feel the weight of the earth pressing down on me again. The medical community continues to study Escobar's case. According to Dr. Andrea Hoffman of the National Institutes of Health, the compounds Webster developed represent a disturbing but scientifically significant advancement in our understanding of human metabolic processes. The ability to induce a controlled state of severely reduced biological function could have profound implications for emergency medicine, space travel, and treatment of certain terminal conditions. However, the methods used to obtain this knowledge were unethical and criminal in the extreme. We are analyzing these compounds under strict ethical guidelines to understand their mechanisms without perpetuating the harm of their discovery. As Webster awaits trial in federal custody, investigators continue to parse through his research notes and laboratory samples. The full extent of his experiments remains unknown. According to psychological evaluation conducted by forensic psychiatrist Dr. Marcus Wong, Webster displays a profound detachment from the humanity of his victims, viewing them solely as research subjects. He exhibits no remorse for the suffering caused, instead expressing frustration that his work might go unrecognized by the scientific community. His methodical documentation, precise record-keeping, and incremental refinement of his techniques indicate a calculating mind wholly dedicated to his perceived research mission, regardless of human cost. For Maya Escobar, the journey toward recovery continues. Physical therapy has helped her regain basic mobility, though doctors caution she may never return to her former level of strength and endurance. Cognitive testing shows no significant impairment despite the prolonged oxygen restriction, a medical anomaly attributed to the metabolic slowing compounds. The psychological wounds, however, prove more resistant to treatment. As Dr. Patel noted in her ongoing assessment, the patient experiences severe claustrophobia, panic attacks triggered by darkness or confined spaces, and persistent nightmares of being buried. Perhaps most disturbing is her report that during moments of quiet or when drifting to sleep, she can still feel soil filling her mouth and nostrils, still taste the earth that nearly became her grave, still sense the weight of the ground pressing down on her immobile body. These sensory memories may represent the most enduring consequence of her ordeal. The case of Maya Escobar stands as a haunting intersection of criminal depravity, scientific boundary crossing, and the remarkable resilience of the human body. What began as a routine morning hike through the striking landscape of Joshua Tree National Park became a 6-month nightmare beneath its soil, and a medical case study that challenges our understanding of the thresholds between life and death. As one investigating officer remarked in an internal case note, In my 22 years of service, I've never encountered a case where victim, perpetrator, and circumstance combine to create something so far beyond our normal framework of crime and survival. The desert holds many secrets, but none quite like the woman who breathed beneath it for half a year, waiting to be found.